take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy?
I'm a human being, god damn it! My life has value! It's time to ask yourself what you believe.
Mass murder, torture, perjury, embezzlement, fraud, deception, treason. These are just a few of your many crimes against humanity. You will not win this war, for you are fighting the very essence of humanity.
Hi, welcome to Truth Your Talk. I'm April
And Virstyne Henry.
Please visit our website at truthyourtalk.com and find all the stuff that we're doing there. Look at our archived shows, etc., etc. So today we're talking to Alexandra Jamison, who you guys might have seen her in the film Super Size Me, which is a pretty well-known documentary. Most people have seen it by now, and it was directed by her and produced by her and her former husband, Morgan Spurlock, and I think in the movie they were dating or they were living together, and now they got married and had a kid, and they're split up now. But the Morgan Spurlock did 30 days on an all McDonald's diet to prove a point that about how nutrition affects your health, and he got really, really sick. She was in the production, but she was on camera, but not as much as him. He was the primary focus as of the movie. You saw it years ago, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and it was at the time I remember thinking that it was pretty shocking, his transformation, because I figured McDonald's was unhealthy, but I didn't know that this guy was going to get so sick. Off of 30 days of it. I was like, wow, okay. So I think that was what a lot of people thought, too, is that, it didn't really, you thought, well, McDonald's isn't really the greatest for you, but it's really not that big a deal to have it once in a while. And his point, I guess, was to do it extreme and to just do it 3 days a week, or 3 times a day, every day for a month to see what would happen. And I think the message that you get is that, well, most people aren't going to do it that extreme, but it's still affecting your health every time you eat stuff like that in little increments. It's just not going to affect. It's just not going to be as extreme of an outcome. But anyway, it was a good movie, and they did a good job illustrating that point. And and he was really funny and very entertaining, and so. I think it's on Netflix. People can check it out if they haven't seen it, but most people have seen it by now. But Alexandra Jamison, we saw her like a year ago or a year and a half ago at the Health Freedom Expo in Long Beach, and she was giving a lecture there, and we really liked it, and we wanted to talk to her. And she's written some books about detoxing your body. And you read one of her books, right?
Yes, I did.
Which one?
The Great American Detox. I did. Because I don't know, it was interesting. I thought she was more fascinating to me than Morgan. I mean, I don't know. I just thought, just even the little time she was in the movies and she was talking about, vegan cooking. I was like, they're vegan chefs. That's how, I didn't even know. That's how ignorant I was on the topic of vegetarianism and veganism and I didn't know that they were like people that were were trained vegan chefs. I thought it was really fascinating. And I got her book, and I remember also reading. Oh my God, that was such a long time ago. That was way back in the day. I was so unhip to a lot of stuff that I know now. But I remember reading her book, and her book being just really giving me an idea how food worked in our body. Does that make sense? Because I think a lot of people are very disconnected to the fact that, or how food actually works in our body. We're just like, okay, we're hungry, we eat stuff. And people kind of know that, a salad is better for you than a bacon double cheeseburger with chili cheese fries and a soda. Right? They know that, but they don't really know what happens when they, like, in their body when they eat it. And I remember reading this one part of the book when she was talking about, like, how fiber binds to cholesterol, and it washes the cholesterol out of your body,
Right.
And I just thought that was so fascinating, so she really was kind of like this. How that book for me was the stepping stone into becoming more familiar about food and how it actually worked in your body. And the book wasn't about that. She just had aspects of just talking about how food worked in your body, but I guess it's more of a book on basically detoxing yourself from eating horrible food.
Yeah.
Food that's bad for you.
Yeah, and when we saw her at the Health Freedom Expo, she was talking about how people become addicted to the foods that they become addicted to foods that are bad for them. They become addicted to, like, things that are poisonous. In some cases, things that they're allergic to. And so that's something we'll definitely bring up during the interview. Hopefully we'll be able to get to that and ask her about it. But I thought that was really interesting, too. So she's very... wants people to recognize and connect, like you say. Most people are disconnected with what is going on, and they just, they eat, they're hungry, and they don't recognize sort of the, I would say, energy of food, like what the awareness that it brings to your body, and things like that, that one thing will affect another. Fiber will affect cholesterol, or that, protein is affected by fat. So too much protein in the body can be a problem, but it's more so a problem if you don't have enough fat. That's something I learned not that long ago. And I think that she focuses on a lot on detoxification, and she used to be a vegan, but she kind of stopped after a few years of doing that, or several years. I want to say it's like 10 years. We'll have to ask her exactly, because I don't remember the top of my head. But she was a vegan, and she used the vegan diet to detox from the shit or the crap that she was eating, and she also used it to help her ex-husband Morgan Spurlock after he did his experiment for 30 days, and that's why it was so famous, because he had just become horribly unhealthy during the making of that movie, and then she, being a vegan chef, actually put him on a detox, and it restored his health. And detoxes are great. I think everybody should detox at some point or another. You don't have to do anything extreme. You don't have to go, most of the time, you don't have to go into the hospital unless there's some sort of serious acute illness you might need to detox from, and you might have to have some kind of IV to push things out of your body. But in most cases, you can just do it with food, or the lack of food, fast, or just restrict yourself for a while and go on certain things, and it will reset your immune system. So that's really, really cool. So I like that she does that focus. It's kind of like just cleaning everything up and resetting. It's like a reboot for your body.
Yeah, it is. Have you ever tried the lemon cleanse?
No, kind of. I didn't realize that I was doing it, because I've done several fasts where I go for 2 or 3 days without eating much. I generally, if I do eat anything, I try to eat like fermented vegetables like sauerkraut and stuff. And but I went on these Kavitas. They were called. Do you know what Kavita, the probiotic drink you get from the store?
Oh, yeah.
The only one I really like, I've tried a couple of different of the Kavitas. I haven't tried them all, so I'm not trying to diss them as a whole, but the only one that I really liked was this one that was made with lemon and cayenne.
Oh, yeah, and that's probably inspired by the lemon cleanse, right?
Exactly. That's what I think. I didn't realize it at the time, and but I liked them. I just liked the taste of them, and they were only like 5 calories, because they're sweetened with stevia and just a tiny bit of maple syrup, and they also have probiotic in them, and they're lemon. It's a lemon / cayenne pepper, and they use and there's some other types of minerals and stuff in it. So it's a really kind of power drink, and I would just drink those like all day long when I was taking it fast. And sometimes I'd switch it up, and I'd do like kombuchas and stuff like that. But so to answer your question, kind of. I kind of did the lemon cleanse. So, but I did some with Hypo Cleanse.
Kind of not enough, April. Not to go all the way. Yeah, I don't like the Kavitas either. I can't stand them, but I'll be open to trying that one. I don't like those probiotic drinks. I mean, that companies. Everybody has their own flavor, their own taste. But I love GTS, and I love the Ginger Ale. That's my favorite. Have you tried that one?
Oh yeah,
yes.
Yeah. They have that at Costco now. You can get a big bulk one.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you can get a box.
I'm going tonight.
And the two that I saw at my Costco were Gingerade and the Synergy. Those are the only two they had.
Oh, I'm so there. You have no idea.
And I like a number of the GTS ones, and my favorites are the citrus, which is lemony, and I like the cranberry, because they're not very sweet. And cranberry's also a very good cleanser. It's good for detoxing, and it's good for your urinary health. Your keep those vaginas clean, ladies.
Yeah.
Cranberry juice, it helps keep it. You want to. I mean, it's funny to say that, but it's your health. Like even your, I guess. We talked about on a previous show, we were talking about like health as far as attractiveness and how you are attractive to other people because of your internal health. And it permeates your body. I mean, you're going to appear to be more attractive because you're more healthy on the inside. And so I think cleaning yourself out and doing all that, so it's kind of a joke, but it's sort of true. If you drink a lot of cranberry, you're going to kind of keep a healthy vagina. Or keep a healthy urinary tract, anyway. So, so I like the cranberry because it's unsweetened. You have to have an unsweetened. Cranberry cocktail isn't going to cut it, ladies. Sorry. I know it's good and yummy and sweet, but it's probably got corn syrup and sugar and all that kind of crap. You're going to have to drink the unsweetened stuff.
Oh, no.
I know, it's bitter, but, or if you do sweeten it, use some honey or some stevia. And do it yourself. Don't buy this pre-sweetened kind, because it's just going to have way too much sugar, or it's going to be corn syrup. So that's what I have to say about that. That's my rant about that. But anyway, so Alexandra Jamison she's just a nice lady. She's got a really positive energy, and she likes to encourage people to be, to get control over their health and use detox. And I think it was kind of. I guess we'll ask her about this when we have her on, but it was kind of brave of her to come out and to tell the world that she's no longer vegan.
I know, because some of those people are ruthless. It's like, they get fanatical, like religious people do that.
Yeah, I think that you need to, and I think that happens on the other side as well, like in the paleo community.
Oh, totally.
The people who are dogmatic about their diet, because what happens is people just get... They find some success. I think is what happens is they go, I've gotten some health out of this. So therefore, it must be the best way to live.
Yeah.
And so then they don't consider that other people might have a different way, that it could be just their genetics. It could be the fact that or they're
lacking in something, or they're not lacking in something, whatever the balance needs to be, in their body.
Exactly,
yeah.
Exactly. And vegan diets for a lot of people can be very detoxing and very healthy, but maybe not in a long term, and that's one thing to consider, and that's where I think she went with that, was that, she did it for a long time until it didn't work for her anymore, and then she stopped. And so that's what everybody needs to be conscious of, just like, if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, then don't be afraid to stop and say, well, maybe I need something else, And so on the other end of it, I've seen some people in the paleo community make outrageous claims about those that practice vegetarianism or something, or veganism, and it's like let's not get out of hand, folks. It's all about a balance, and it's about what works for you. And you're right in the sense that there are going to be people that are going to get sick on a vegan diet, but there are going to be people that get sick on a high fat diet too. It's like it just really depends on and who you are. I mean, my son has to be on a high-fat diet. That's just the nature of when you have neurological issues, you need a lot of fat in your diet because the brain is made up of mostly fatty tissues and 90% cholesterol. So the brain needs you need to feed the body what the brain needs. And so it's going to need a lot of fat, it's going to need a lot of cholesterol. And it's not going to be the diet for everybody, though, you know? So I'm not trying to tell everybody that they need that, but that's what my son needs, and that's kind of what we have her around in our home. But, you know, he eats a lot more meat than I do. I can't eat that much, as much as, you know, because if he doesn't, like, he's just like a raving lunatic. He's like a ravaged dog. He'll just like, I need bacon. Like, he needs it. It's like he just gets insane. And so I go, okay, you obviously need this. And that's what you need. So your body, but I can't. I can just get by on just a little bit, you know.
I'm been a vegetarian on and off since I was about 15, but I've gone on periods where, like, I'll just have to binge on meat for like a month, and then I'm like, ugh, I've had enough of that, and then I'll be a vegetarian for like another 5 years. And then I'll just be like, meat, and then I'm like, ugh. Then I just, you know, meat doesn't really, I like the taste of it, it's great. It just doesn't feel like I can feel the effects on my body after. And I know that there are people too that are vegan because of political reasons, because they don't feel that you know, they feel the animals are abused, which they are. Like, I'm not anywhere for the enslavement of animals. And but I think it's impossible to live in the modern society that we live in and be a true vegan, because even if you're not eating animals or wearing their clothes, you are in some way contributing, not contributing, you in some way, you know, using something that an animal was killed for, like glue, or, you know, you couldn't use glue, you couldn't use certain musical instruments, you know, fish, I play the flutes, and the pads are made of fish skins, you know, I mean, what else, the hand drums are usually made of goat skins, like the African hand drums, good Congo drums, you know, erhus are made of python skin, and, you know, I mean, like natural instruments, you know, they used to make pianos out of ebony, which was a dark wood, and ivory, which was the tusk of elephants, but they've changed that now. They don't do that anymore. But, I mean, if you watch movies, the cellulose, I think it's called cellulose, that they use, comes from animals, something, you know, I mean, you know, I mean, you're riding in a car, it's contributing to the roadkill. I mean, you know, I mean, like, because, you know, I mean, there's just no way to really escape it unless you were to move to a forest or somewhere. And even then, it seems like indigenous people may not, maybe there might be some tribes around the world that don't eat animals, but they still use them for something. I just don't think that, but you know, the thing is, they don't enslave them, they don't dehumanize them, and they don't, they use everything. So if they are going to eat them or use something, weapons or medicine or whatever, they use a whole animal, and they pay respects to it, which, you know, I'm about that. So I don't, you know, I've never been a preachy vegetarian. But, you know, it's funny, too, because there are people that, you know, I'll go out and like, oh yeah, I don't eat meat, and I'm not like, we'll order something, and they're like, aren't you gonna get the roast beef? I was like, oh, I don't eat roast beef, and then, you know, they'll get all defensive, like, why not? Are you a vegetarian? You know, and then they'll like go off on me and be like, you know, it's not, you know, how do you get your protein? How do you get your protein? You know? It's not really healthy what you're doing. You know, I get like that all the time, and they'll go off me, and it's interesting because I feel like they get on the defensive just because they think I'm going to attack them. It's weird. It's like religion in some cases, you know. People get that extreme about religion.
It's true. It's like, I know. They get all automatically, they're uppity about it, and it's like, because you tell them that you're a vegetarian, you know. Yeah, go
I know,
ahead.
and I wanted to say, too, or they check vaccines, you know.
Yeah, right.
People like my ex-friends that I had, you know, they were all, like, vaccine hounds. They probably don't even know, because they, you know.
Oh, they didn't.
Yeah. But, you know, but they're high and mighty vegans.
Right.
So...
Which is a contradiction, because if you guys have heard us on the show talk before, they use the bits and pieces and parts of animals to make vaccines. So
they cage them and harvest them and treat them like shit, basically, until they kill them when they need to harvest the virus. Because viruses need a living host. You can't grow them in a petri dish in mass. I think viruses can grow on different things. We can't grow them in a petri dish. In mass, in the way that, in the amount that they need in order to make a vaccine, so they have to use a live host.
Mm-hmm. So they use things like monkey kidneys and monkey brains and
monkey testicles is so gross.
Yeah, and then cow, like
cow
pieces of cows and eggs and in human aborted fetal tissue.
Yeah.
And they, I mean, this is for real.
Yeah, but that's like,
and then they inject it.
When you get if you notice you get the flu shot, then you know, they ask if you're allergic to eggs, because I think they use eggs for the influenza. They do. The chickens for to grow the influenza vaccine. So there's eggs in the flu shot, and it's so funny because I knew that there were eggs in the flu shot, but I thought that they just like cracked an egg and like put it in the you know, like I didn't know that it was like the cells of a chicken, like that's mixed up with your DNA. That's just so nasty. But now that I think about it, why didn't I even think? Because injecting a raw egg into you is pretty nasty as well. Either way, it's really nasty.
Well, and everything they inject into you, your body's going to develop antibodies for it, and so that's why a lot of people have egg allergies, because they've been injected with it. Because the flu shot has it, and there's a few other vaccines that are also cultivated that way with eggs. I think the chickenpox vaccine, ironically, is also made in an egg, like raw egg. So it's just gross, because then they really don't know. They're kind of messing with things they don't understand. They don't understand what the effects of injecting a human being with foreign DNA is going to cause, because it's different than when you eat it. Your body, how the enzyme system works in your body is that when you eat a food, it goes through a sensory process. So you smell it, you taste it, you're chewing it, and as you're chewing it, you're sending signals to your brain. Okay, so deliver these enzymes. This is what we're eating. We're eating eggs, we're eating protein, boom, go. And so when they're injecting it, your body doesn't know what to do with it. It just kind of like goes through the gamut, and so it says, invader, send antibodies to protect me from it. We need to get this out. And so once the antibodies are in there, then it's going to recognize that every time you put it into your body. So then the next time you go to try and eat an egg, well, guess what? You're going to get an allergic reaction because you've been injected with it. And so you might not have been allergic before, but now you are. That's how that shit works. And that's the same with the peanuts. Peanuts are epidemic in this country. Peanut allergies are epidemic.
Why is that?
They use them in vaccines. They use
peanut oil. Do you know what they use the peanut oil for?
Yeah, they use it as like a lubricant for the syringe.
Oh, what?
Mhm. So it's like a lubricant for the syringe.
And they do the same with sesame seed oils, and that's why a lot of sesame allergies are.
Exactly.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep. So those are the two, right? Because the body just goes, it tries to get it out. I mean, what else can it do? Yeah. That's how it's designed to protect you from poison, from things that are invading you. And when you're injecting something into a person, that's such an unnatural way, the body's almost always going to reject it. Yeah. It's going to go, out.
It's supposed to go through an orifice, so that way stuff can't get past the blood-brain barrier.
Well, I mean,
right?
Yes, but that's not why it goes through an orifice. It goes through the orifice because that's how your brain that's the normal process that your brain needs to receive the information about what it is. So when you have, because not everything that you're going to take in through your orifice, your body wants to reject. Some things like nutrients you want to receive, you want to absorb those. So the body is, but the brain's going to have to identify what it is. So how it identifies it is that it goes through your sensory process. You are eating it, you're chewing it, you're tasting it, you're smelling it. All those things that it's going through, all these orifices, are the brain is sending signals to your brain. This is what it needs. I need digestive enzymes, pancreatic enzymes to break it down so that I can ingest it and I can absorb the nutrients. And then if it's a poison, the brain goes, no, send the antibody, get it out. And your body's going to tell the brain what to think. It's going to send those signals instantly. So that's why it goes through the normal orifice. If it's a virus, same thing. If you get in contact, if you breathe it in, the body's going to go, okay, get that, let me figure out how to deal with that. Let's, and it ignites the immune system. It sends antibodies down, mucus, all those things are supposed to block you from taking any more of it in. Everything gets all plugged up so that it says, no more, you're not coming in. That's your way of defending yourself. And it's also the way of getting it out, getting it in and getting it out. And so, but it's trying to block you from getting any more in while you're trying to get it out. So it's the immune system setup. It's how everything's made. And but with things that cross the blood-brain barrier are things that are highly carcinogenic in nature. There aren't generally, not always, but things that like mercury or aluminum, or these are types of things that can be injected into your body, and they'll go through injection. It will cross the blood-brain barrier because that it's getting directly put into your blood, as opposed to you, like let's say if you ate tuna and you got mercury in your system that way, your body would know how to handle it and it would know how to get it out. But injection, it might not. It might not, because it doesn't go through the same process of, like I'm saying, like that awareness that your body, the sensory awareness that your body needs in order to figure out how to get rid of it. So it's a multi-thing. It's like, multi-layered. It's a big deal. And anyway, so, yeah, but that's how food works. And that's why allergies, is your body sending antibody response. And so what I thought was interesting, and I actually related to this a lot from personal experience, is that you do become addicted to the things that you're allergic to at times, because I don't exactly know how that happens, but your body just becomes dependent on it. Like, you're allergic to dairy, and then you're like can't stand. You just want a grilled cheese sandwich every single day. I don't know, right? It's like that is. It sounds weird, but that's one of the things we're going to talk to Alexandra Jamison about, because she gave that lecture on how the body does become dependent on things that it shouldn't have. So it's kind of weird. But anyway, so I'm going to cut us out right here and take a short break. We'll take a short break because we want to talk to Alexandra Jamison on the other side of it. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
I was on holiday with Sir Lawrence Olivier. We had decided that 9/11 was an intelligence operation. We'd all known about JFK. He had so many mistresses. The CIA shot him. Castro could never have done it. It was clear. We had become realists, conspiracy realists. How would we let everyone know was the question. We decided to buy T-shirts that told the contents of our hearts and minds to the world. We went to shop.truthandtease.com. Even though the internet hadn't been invented at the time, we went to shop.truthandtease.com. There we purchased Conspiracy Realist T-shirts, one of a kind, sold only at shop.truthandtease.com. 100% cotton in men's and women's fitted sizes. I won't tell you which one I'm wearing.
Welcome back to Truth or Talk. On today's show, we have Alex Jamison. Alex is a certified holistic health counselor, accredited through the Columbia University Teachers College and the American Association of Drugless Practitioners. She has completed the professional chef training at the Natural Gourmet Institute and is the author of the Great American Detox Diet, Vegan Cooking for Dummies, and Living Vegan for Dummies. Her approach to holistic health did the damage Morgan Spurlock's 30-day McDonald's binge did to his body in the Oscar-nominated documentary Super Size Me. She has spoken on Oprah, CNN, and NBC. She currently blogs at Dr. Oz's ShareCare.com and the Huffington Post. You can find more about Alex and what she's working on at AlexandraJamison.com. Please welcome to the show Alexandra Jamison. Hello, Alex. How are you?
Hello, ladies. I'm doing very well.
Good.
Good.
Glad to hear your voice. Thanks for being on our show. So, before we started the show, Virstyne had mentioned to you that you guys had met at the Health Freedom Expo in Long Beach. It's been like a year and a half ago now. And but I was there too. I don't think we met, but I saw you speak, and one of the things you talked about that was really interesting was how people become addicted to foods that make them sick. And so I was hoping maybe you could recap that a little bit, describe that to your audience, what that means, and your own experience with that.
Absolutely. Well, my own experience with this started at a very young age in that even though I was raised on an organic farm, my mom had her own organic gardening radio show for 11 years when I was growing up. I was raised in a super, super healthy family, but I was a total sugar junkie. And I would actually go down to the church at the end of the street on Sunday mornings for Sunday school by myself. I would take myself to church because I found out that the kids at Sunday school got Kool-Aid and cookies. So I started, my parents didn't have any junk food in the house, so I would be like, oh, well, they're giving it away for free at church. I'll go hang out there. And, I pretty much did everything I could to eat the fast food and junk food that my parents wouldn't allow in the house all through high school. And by the time I was in my mid-20s, I got very sick. And I was totally depleted. I was lacking a lot of nutrients, and one round of antibiotics for a knee surgery just decimated what was left of my internal gut flora and my immune system, and I ended up with full-blown candida and migraine headaches every day, exhaustion, depression, 30 pounds overweight. And I was totally in an addictive cycle with the sugar and caffeine especially that were keeping me sick, but they were also, it's really like alcoholism. And, sugar and alcohol are kind of in the same family. Alcohol is a sugar. When you try to take something that your body is really addicted to away, it goes through withdrawals. And especially if you're dealing with a candida overgrowth, the harmful bacteria and yeasts, we're like puppets, ladies. The bacteria and yeasts are really the puppet masters. We are, now we know we're 9 to 10 times more bacterial than we are human. There's 10 times more bacterial cells in our body than there are human cells. So they're really running the show. And when you are, overgrown with something like candida and they live off sugar that you get from your diet, they are constantly gearing you towards sugar. So that sugar addiction is very real. I used to joke and call it the beast within, and now I know that's actually true. that yeast I was a puppet. It was guiding me towards the fridge every night for the Ben & Jerry's. So that's one way that this kind of food addiction shows up. But there's another aspect to this that doesn't get enough, not enough experts are talking about it, which is the fact that we are creatures of habit. 40% of what we do every day is what we did yesterday, is what we did the day before. 40% of our life is habit. And if you have a habit of eating certain foods, of having a soda every day with lunch, of having a Frappuccino every afternoon at the office, that is a very real habit that is physically ingrained into the gray matter in your brain. You know, the brain likes to create habits. Habits are actually really good for us because they preserve our willpower. You know, if you do the same thing over and over again automatically, that means that's 40% less choices, 40% less decision-making you have to do every day. But you have to learn how your habits are operating you and how they're either setting you up for a healthy life or a life that's not serving you. So habits are as important as, I think, the health aspects of food we eat.
Yeah. And that seems to be what is so hard for people to change once, you know, because I have loved ones who are addicted to diet sodas. They go off of regular sodas and they go on to diet sodas, and I say, well, you know, it's just as bad. Those are really bad for you, and they can cause all kinds of health problems. And they know this. They say, yeah, I know, but they just don't, they won't leave it and won't stop doing it or switch it with something else. And I wonder, is it just because people don't want to change their habits? I mean, is that one of the things that makes it so hard?
Well, I think there's 3 root causes to cravings. And, you know, I'm a big believer in cravings. I think cravings can actually be your best guide, that learning to listen to your body is the most important thing you can learn how to do in this life. And it's not something we're taught in any way. In school, most of our parents don't know how to do it, so they don't teach us. So that's kind of become my mission in life, is to help people learn to listen to their body. And those cravings, you know, I got in a lot of trouble for my cravings. So when we made Super Size Me, I was vegan. I was a vegan chef. And I was happily vegan for over a decade, wrote 3 books about it, healed my own body with a plant-based diet, healed Morgan's body after Super Size Me with a plant-based diet, and everything was great. And then after I had my son, and when Morgan and I were getting divorced, a lot of stress, I was now in my mid-30s, my body started to change, and I started craving meat. This was bad news. I was not supposed to want meat. And I really struggled with it.
I'm just curious, what kind of meat? Red meat, fish?
All of it. All of it. Red meat especially. You know, I would watch my friends. I'd go out to eat with friends anywhere. You know, I would order the veggie thing. They would order whatever. And you know, when I saw people eating a burger, my mouth started watering. I was like, oh my God, I want that. But no, I can't want that. That's bad, right? I have been taught that this is a bad thing. I shouldn't want that. So I thought, okay, my body is missing something. Maybe it's a nutritional deficiency. So I was, you know, checking and eating all the high nutrient foods, mineral-rich foods, all the iron-rich foods. You know, I'd written 3 books on vegan nutrition. I knew what I was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And it didn't work. And then my menstrual cycle started to change. It started coming every 14, 16 days.
Wow.
I was, you know, now I know, like, and as you reach your late 30s, this is very, 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 very early menopause. Your body starts to change as you grow older. It just happens. Now, I'm not in menopause. I'll be 40 next year. But as you grow older, your hormones start to change. And as you grow older, your body needs different things. So there were a variety of reasons why I was craving meat. When I finally started listening to my body, because here I was helping other people learn to listen to their bodies, and I wasn't allowing myself the same grace to hear what my body was asking for. When I finally started eating some animal protein, it felt physically so amazing. It's like, oh, yes, this is good. Emotionally, it was very challenging because logically I had all these, you know, I had all the facts on hand. I had written 3 books about this. I knew exactly why you, quote-unquote, should not eat meat. But as I began to take a step back and say, well, wait a minute, I'm an animal too. And if this kind of food is actually helping me balance my health and bring my hormones back into balance, isn't that the right thing to do? As I was listening to these cravings, go ahead.
Oh, no, I just wanted to ask, why did you become a vegan in the first place? Or was it for health reasons? because you like animals? I was just curious.
It was initially for health reasons, that when I hit that sickness in my mid-20s and I was overweight and depressed and had this full-on candida going, I went to a doctor, who asked me what I was eating. I was very lucky that I finally found a doctor who didn't want to just put me on painkillers and Prozac. And he said, well, we need to change your diet. We need to get you off of dairy and grains and sugars. And I was at bottom at that point. I was so miserable. I mean, I was having migraine headaches almost every day. It was horrible. And I started reading all these books that he recommended, and I read Diet for a New America by John Robbins.
Oh, yeah.
I was so inspired. And I was like, you know what, that feels like the right thing to do. And my doctor was not recommending a vegan diet, but that's what I decided I would do. And I took his advice, made it into a vegan diet that was sugar-free. And within a couple of weeks, the headaches were gone, the depression was gone, my energy was up. I was feeling amazing, and the weight dropped off, so I really was able to heal my body very quickly. And as I started to feel well, I was like, oh, I like the environmental aspect, and I love animals, so this is great. Yeah. So it all worked for me. But I was never really comfortable with my friends who were vegan, who were more strict. They were more militant in a way. They were more religious about it.
Yeah.
I was never comfortable with the idea that this is the only way everyone should eat. I'm like, no, I don't agree with that. I don't think that's true for everyone. And anyway, I never became that strict about it with other people.
Have you been attacked because of your transition? Because I know that there are people that get religious about it,
Absolutely. I debated for over a year on how to kind of come out of the vegan closet, because I had been writing vegan recipes and cookbooks for years. I had this newsletter I sent out. And when I finally decided, look, I need to kind of come clean, I wrote this blog post, I'm not vegan anymore. And I posted it after months of revision because I was so afraid to finally put it up. And within 24 hours, the thing went viral. People were attacking me. I mean, I had friends, actual friends, unfriend me, do podcasts about, vegan-themed podcasts about how evil and weak I am. Mm-hmm. And it really came back to this idea of cravings. They were like, how can you listen to your body and indulge in your cravings? If we did that, we would be, psychopathic serial killers with a heroin problem. I'm like, wow, that's really not what I was thinking.
Yeah. Like, are you vegan? What's going on in your head? I'm not like that. Like, geez, maybe you need to stay vegan. That's intense.
and this word cravings became very interesting to me, and I started looking at, well, what are the causes of cravings? It can be a nutritional deficiency of some sort. You have a craving to eat because you're hungry. That's a good thing. It's a good thing that our body is telling us this. Or you may be thirsty. Good. Drink some water. Get hydrated. But you may also have a more specific nutritional deficiency. Like, I think there was something hormonally happening for me where my body was changing. I needed even less carbohydrates and more full-on animal protein. And now I really vary between, I will be plant-based for entire days at a time, and then I'll have meat at every meal. It really is a meal-to-meal awareness. Like, what do I need now? What do I need now to feel good today and tomorrow? And it's serving me really well. But you really do have to develop kind of an awareness practice and be open to looking at the other deficiencies. It can be nutritional, it can also be a physical need, and it can be an emotional need. You may be tired, or you may need to stretch or exercise, and most people don't recognize the craving for movement. Or you may need sex, you may need intimacy with another person.
That's great.
Or maybe you are stressed or sad or lonely. Those are all cravings that often the body just says, oh, well, have a cupcake. That'll make you feel better. And your body's not wrong. Your body's not wrong. Yes, that will make you feel better quickly in this moment. But let's look at the underlying cause of this craving and start to address, how can you begin to feed your cravings, nourish yourself, body and soul, in a way that really serves you and moves you towards your bigger, motivating desires.
Right. And so there's a point where it's like you almost can't trust your cravings because you're saying if you are having an unhealthy lifestyle, you're going to crave that cupcake or like the Kool-Aid you had. You literally drink the Kool-Aid. And but that's an example of if you're not in a healthy state, you're going to, and you're eating, your regular practice is to eat unhealthy foods, then your cravings are going to be off. You're going to be craving things that are just going to keep making you sick. But then once you've detoxed, I think what you talked about in your lecture at the Health Freedom Expo was how once you've detoxed, then you can start to trust yourself, and that's what brought you back on the meat wagon. Right now I'm pregnant. I'm 7.5 months pregnant, and when I have cravings, because I've been practicing a healthy lifestyle, I can trust them more than I did in my other 2 pregnancies because I wasn't eating as healthy back then. So now when I'm craving things like eggs and things like butter, and I'm going, okay, well that makes sense because babies need fat for brain development and they need protein for cell growth. So those are actually cravings I can trust. But, before, if I was craving a Jack in the Box taco, that was probably not a good thing because I didn't know. I wanted the protein maybe, but I didn't, and the fat, but I was craving it in a different, based on what my, my understanding of food was at the time. So it's like you have to retrain yourself. So talk a little bit about how you did that, with the detox, so how important detox is, and then how once you've done that, you can kind of start to trust yourself a little better.
Yeah, absolutely. I do still, after 14 years of being a health coach and a chef, I almost always come back to cleanses and detox. That, I actually just turned in my next book to the publisher. It's going to be out in January. It's called Women, Food, and Desire. And the subtitle is Embrace Your Cravings, Make Peace with Food, and Reclaim Your Body. And it's all about this process of getting clear, really clearing out the static in your body. And a lot of that is our cravings for highly chemicalized processed junk foods, which are loaded with what are called flavor enhancers. I mean, they're really scientifically formulated. Something like an Oreo has 20 or more, maybe it's 40 or more flavor enhancers in it that are formulated to light up the dopamine in your brain so that, your brain is no match for that cookie.
Especially a child's brain,
Especially a kid, for sure. So what happens is you really do have to clean the slate. You really have to cleanse your body and your brain. You have to give yourself a break, a gap, so that you take 2 or 3 weeks where you're eating so clean and avoiding, what I call the toxic 6, which is gluten, dairy, sugar, caffeine, corn, and soy. You take those out completely, and I highly recommend doing this with a group of people, a partner, a coach, entering into like a cleanse program or something, and then you add them back in one at a time, because this does a number of things at once. It allows your body to heal and calm that static from those excitotoxin foods. Mm-hmm. It also allows you to heal your gut. And the more we learn about the gut, it's really remarkable. This is like the Wild West of nutrition and health right now, where the gut, the microbiome, the bacteria in your body, we're just beginning to understand how they affect us. And when you are eating things like Jack in the Box and Oreos and diet sodas all the time, you have a different mix of bacteria in your body. And there are certain bacteria and yeasts that will actually make you more depressed. They will make you more anxious. They will cause you to gain weight. And you need to clean out from those toxic foods to bring things back into balance and grow the healthier bacteria that are going to actually calm you down and calm your body down. And here's the other thing. When you heal your gut, when you detox, when you cleanse, you're doing a couple of things. You're removing the grime and the caked-on stuff from your intestines. You're actually healing your intestines, your whole digestive tract. And that is also the seat of your intuition. You know, your gut is your second brain. It has as many neurotransmitters as your head does. You know, when you say you've got nervous knots or butterflies in your stomach, that's true. Your body is telling you. There is actual wisdom. It's telling you stuff. We just don't know how to listen to that language yet. And when you're eating, you know, the standard American diet, that communication is impaired. And your gut is doing everything just to keep up with the barrage of unhealthy foods, and it can't actually communicate with you clearly. So there's a lot of levels of healing that happen in a cleanse.
It's like a reboot.
Yeah.
Reboot your computer, reboot your system, and it sort of gives you a clean slate. I read recently something about if you fast for 2 days, it regenerates your immune system. So it's sort of like a reboot, starts over, and that's just 2 days.
It's true, absolutely. Even just fasting, your body is so powerful. It's such a wonderful creature that you live inside of. It has such power to heal itself. And if we just give it half a chance, if we just give it the foods that don't cause the static, if we even take a break from eating for a day or two, even 1 day a month can really bring about some remarkable changes. And, you know, this is one of the things that I offer on a regular basis. I have cleanse programs and detoxes that I run a few times a year. And it's such a joy, it's such a pleasure to hear the responses back from people and what they discover that, oh my gosh, I took these things out of my diet and I am so clear, I have so much more energy, I can actually spend the day with my kids and not be exhausted. Or I put my son down for a nap and I didn't have to take a nap with him. I actually got to do some of the things I've been wanting to do. You know, having that, it's like having more time, having more life. It's amazing.
Giving people their lives back, basically, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I saw an interview on you, or I saw an interview that you did, and I heard you talk about the importance of cutting out or cutting down television when you're trying to get rid of your cravings or trying to change your eating habits. Could you explain that? I thought that was really, really good insight.
Yeah, I call it the digital detox. And you know, this was inspired from my own experience a few years back. I haven't had cable in a long time, but I do enjoy Netflix. You know, I'll watch movies. But I saw these ads around town for this show called Mob Wives. It's a reality TV show. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to watch an episode of that. I don't know why. I just need to. So I asked a friend of mine to record it, and I went over to his place and I sat down to watch it. And it had been so long since I'd watched reality TV, but I noticed so quickly how bad I felt watching it. I had all these crazy thoughts and emotions come up while I'm watching the show. I noticed I was judging the people on the show really harshly. I was judging myself in comparison to them really harshly. I was thinking, oh my gosh, these people are crazy, or like, why am I watching this? Why can't I stop watching this? And then I noticed, oh my God, I wish I had some popcorn right now. I was like, wait a minute, what? Like, I realized that I was physically feeling bad. I was consuming junk food TV. And it has
junk food cravings, right?
Yeah, it did. You know, when I watch things that are negative and I start judging myself or other people based on what I'm watching, it is just as harmful physically as something that I could eat. And I realized I can't watch stuff like this anymore. I just can't do it. It doesn't feel good. And when I don't feel good, my body says, oh, I want you to feel better. Like, let's go have something that'll make you feel better, right? Mm-hmm. So that's part of it. The other part is that we are much more likely to be triggered to snack on something if we're watching late night TV and see commercials for snacks. If we see it, we want it.
Yeah.
So if you're watching commercial television late at night and you see something for Domino's come up or you see some kind of nacho cheese dip, you're going to want a snack because you see it and your body's like, ooh, yeah, I have a memory of what that tastes like. That would feel good. So we get very easily triggered by what we see and hear and consume as media consumers. So I have people totally go off of commercial television, talk radio, tabloid magazines, Us Weekly, People, all that stuff, just for a little while so that you can begin to notice, oh, yeah, it's like a detox. You have to take yourself off of certain foods so that you can get clear about how that food makes you feel.
Wow, that was a really interesting connection you made as far as you judging the people and feeling bad about it, and then you wanting junk food to fill your to fill your cravings. But I also, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, but I see the connection myself with the when you watch TV and you see the commercial, and they'll have like the hamburger and it's like all juicy and the bread will like bounce on the meat and they'll like rotate the pizza. They make it extra tantalizing. Which doesn't help. But that whole analogy about, or the whole experience about just reality TV and just the news too. It gets really depressing. The news is very depressing. I don't watch the news.
Oh, absolutely. It's bringing fear into your body, into your life. It's okay to be aware, for sure. But as you are trying to heal your body, I'm also very interested in willpower and self-control and how our body forms habits. And I've come to the conclusion that you can really only work on one thing at a time. You can really only change one habit at a time if you want it to stick. So, that's why I have people, when they do my cleanses, I have them focus on, we're changing one thing at a time. You're going on my green and lean protein smoothies for breakfast. And that's it. You're just doing this thing for breakfast, and then we'll add something else. It's like, okay, let's get this habit going, this one healthy habit, and then we'll move on to another thing. So, the idea that you have unlimited amounts of willpower and that you're just weak if you haven't made things work in your life, no, it's not true. You can only really work on one thing at a time. And we try to do too much. And it's debilitating, and it's exhausting, especially if you have kids and a job and commuting, and it's just too much. So I really, really recommend that people, give themselves some space to make these changes one at a time.
Yeah, and it's like you're saying, that's one of the reasons I think maybe a lot of people will fail is because they're trying to do too many things at once and change their, I'm going to start running 5 miles a day, and I'm going to eat, vegan, and then they try and do that all at once, and then they break down because it's too much.
Yeah.
And then people psych themselves out mentally and feel that it's a deficiency or a problem within themselves, not recognizing that it takes years to build these bad habits, so it's going to take years to undo them as well. I would imagine. And speaking of that, it seems like there's a lot of that insight in the film that we mentioned during the intro, Super Size Me, which is how we first became aware of you. And so just going back to that a little bit, I wanted to just ask how you got involved in that project. And then if there's anybody who hasn't seen it much, I know most people have seen it, but if there's anyone that hasn't, you could talk about it just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So Super Size Me is a movie that Morgan and I created together. Morgan Spurlock, he was the guinea pig in the movie, and we came up with this idea on Thanksgiving Day 2002. Now, what would happen if he ate nothing but fast food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? And we were on the couch talking about these two girls who were on the news who were suing McDonald's for their health problems, their obesity and diabetes. And he said, come on, you can't sue a food company. You go in and you buy the food. And I said, yeah, but look at how they market to children. Look at how they present their food as healthy to eat all day long. And he said, well, what would happen if I ate it all day long? Bing, light bulb. And, he was a budding filmmaker. I was a young chef and health coach. And this was what we talked about all the time. Like, how can we, what can we do? We're passionate. Like, how do we make a change? And so a month later, we were filming the movie. He was eating nothing but McDonald's for a month. I was, standing on the side, scared, and offering commentary during the course of the film. And in a month, he put on 24.5 pounds. His cholesterol went up 60 points. His liver was so filled with fat, he was giving himself non-alcoholic hepatitis. And his doctors, who at first, as they were tracking his progress, said, yeah, we don't think anything's really going to happen. The human body's really resilient. You might put on a few pounds, but you'll be all right. I was the only one who said, dude, you're going to be so sick. Yeah. And he was. By week 3, his doctors were saying, you need to stop. This is outrageous. And it really kicked off this whole, trend of food documentaries and awareness of what was happening, not just in the fast food lifestyle, but in our school lunch program as well.
Yep. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, though, even though they do market to children and, their food is readily available everywhere, in every country, do you think it still sends a bad message when you can sue somebody for something that you should have control over yourself? Like, I think about the people that sue fast food companies and stuff, and there's a part of me that's still like, that it's unhealthy. Even though you don't know how unhealthy it is, everybody knows that fast food is unhealthy. So, what am I trying to say? I think that people still need to take responsibility for what they put into their bodies and don't just, give somebody else the blame.
I think that's true. I think, yes, personal responsibility, it does come down to a choice. And we live in a culture where I had a very different upbringing from most Americans, and I'm really aware of that. My mom had an organic gardening radio show. Come on. Could you get any more hippie progressive than that? No. But most Americans are surrounded by fast food culture. Yeah. They don't necessarily know how to cook real food. There's not, there's this idea of what healthy should be and what you should do to be healthy. And they teach it in health classes, right? But they teach it in the classroom and they abandon you in the lunchroom. You take the class and then you go to lunch and it's total crap being served in most cafeterias. Yeah. You go to a hospital, it's total crap. That totally inspired me to get into what I'm doing now is my knee surgery. I had my first knee surgery, and even then, I hadn't even gone to culinary school yet or gone to nutrition school yet, and I looked at the tray of food they brought into me as I was staying overnight. I'm like, really? Like, I'm in here for surgery. You realize, like, I'm sick. You feed this to sick people? Like, sugar and fat and grade D meat. This is ridiculous. I had my boyfriend, like, smuggle me in food. So we do not, as a culture, really support the ideas of health that we say are a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like we treat health as if it's sort of a lottery. You're either healthy or you're not. Mm-hmm. You just get the winning ticket or you don't. Because some people do seem to be able to tolerate more, but then do they really? Because then maybe they drop dead of a heart attack at the age of 50, and you go, wow, what happened? It's just it might just happen to you suddenly. You really don't know when that sort of lifestyle is going to catch up with you. But it's funny how you mentioned that in the hospital, because I remember, having to go to the hospital for something, and they have McDonald's in the hospital.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's so contradictory. It's such an interesting insight that you bring up, because it's such a contradiction to what they're telling you to do. Do as I say, not as I do, or as I show you. And back to the craving thing, you know, you can correlate that to being comforted as a child. And I think you guys show that in the documentary, is how, you know, they give you a toy and people remember going as a family. Like when I was a kid, if you got good grades, you were taken. We got taken to McDonald's for dinner if we had good grades, you know, and so it had this sort of positive correlation, you know, to where to this day, if I drive by, I mean, I don't eat there, but if I drive by it, it smells good still to me. Like the fries smell great, and I go because it triggers that memory of me being a kid and being rewarded for doing well in school and being with my family and stuff, but I mean, if I eat it, I feel terrible. It makes me sick. I mean, I haven't in years, but the last time I did, I remember I felt sick.
It's like crack. You know.
Well, it's I mean, it's sort of it becomes that addiction. So it's a multi-layered thing. I think that that's unique the way that you describe it, because there aren't many people who can kind of correlate that to emotions and your spiritual awareness and then also your health. So before you guys did the film, what was your relationship with food?
Well, I was a professional vegan chef at that point. So right before the film, like the 2 years previous, I was really on this health journey for myself. And Morgan and I had been together for about a year, so all I talked about was quinoa and kale and, you know, how we should be going to the health food store.
Right.
But the 10 years previous to that, before I got very sick, I ate at McDonald's. I loved the value meal number 2, the 2 cheeseburger meal. That was my favorite. Like I drank a super big gulp of Dr. Pepper almost every day in high school.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing that I'm still standing. It's amazing what the human body can endure. But I couldn't. Here's the thing, when I got sick, I was also in a job that I was not passionate about. I was not happy in my work. I was in a relationship I wasn't happy in. But I was so tired and felt so crummy all the time. I couldn't imagine fixing or changing anything. So I was just stuck. I was stuck in my life. I was in a job I didn't love, sitting down 10 hours a day. I was in a relationship that wasn't going anywhere, but I had no energy and no ability to believe that I could make anything better. So it wasn't until I hit bottom health-wise, changed things around so that I got healthy, and then I was able to step back and say, oh, you know what, my life is not supporting my bigger heart's desires. Like I now see that I have the clarity to step back and be like, wow, I really need to make a change.
You know, I want to go back a little bit talking about the emotions that foods bring up, too, because I think one of the biggest problems that people have when they try and change their diet, too, is the memories, like April was talking about. She had the memory of going to McDonald's and stuff. But, you know, you have all of these holidays, too, that are centered around food and cooking, and, you know, it's really hard for a lot of people. So what, when you were making this change too, did you have somebody that was doing it with you? Because I think, you know, that's important for some people too, to maybe have somebody that they can team up with so they're not alone, because it's mentally and emotionally stressful too.
Yeah.
And physically stressful on your body, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, at the time, I didn't know anybody who ate a vegan or vegetarian diet. I didn't know anyone. But my boyfriend at the time, even though we weren't meant to be together, he was a really sweet, supportive guy, and he would cook dinner. You know, he was curious and explored all these recipes, and he made these great whole foods vegan dinners and was really open to whatever it was I needed to eat to get better. So that was super important. And I know not everybody has that, which is why I've created these cleanses. You know, I'm offering a cravings cleanse at the end of August as a way to get people together so that we meet together once a week on the phone. We have an online community, because doing it alone is so hard that most people stop before they make any progress. You know, you need cheerleaders. You need non-judgmental people who are right there with you, who really understand what you're going through and can say, oh, dude, I totally get it. You know, try this. or hey, I did this, you can totally do it too. So having a community it's an absolute necessary piece of success.
Yeah. Yeah, and then making friends and people that are doing it with you, because socially, as she was describing, you go to family functions, and people might not understand at all what you're doing, and they think it's weird, or they think it's
they'll attack you. They'll say, "Why are you eating so healthy? Who do you think you are?" Or they'll make fun of you, or it's not.
I have to be honest. I never experienced that, and I don't know anyone personally who has experienced that, and I don't want anyone who's listening to this to think, oh, my family won't be supportive. You know what? Give them a chance. Give them a chance. Don't, it's not you bringing judgment to the table. You're not saying, well, I'm eating like this, so everyone here should be. It's totally not about that. It's really, if you trust your family and friends and say, you know what, I'm really not feeling good, and I think that eating this way might actually help me so much. I'd love to share some of it with you. I made extra, or maybe, here's a website you can look at to kind of learn more about what it is I'm doing. Have faith in people. Don't automatically assume that they're not going to support you, because if you bring that energy to it, then they won't. If you judge them, if you prejudge them, they're going to judge you right back. So,
well, I get what you're saying, but I brought that up because I've actually experienced that myself. So
okay, you know
what I mean.
It totally does happen. Yeah. It does. I was super lucky. My family and my friends were awesomely supportive, and I know that there are people out there who have a hard time with their family around stuff like this, because food is so personal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you change something, they're thinking, oh, well, what is she saying about me? Why doesn't she love my food anymore? Yeah. What's wrong with me? Right. So yes, it does happen, and try to give them the benefit of the doubt. And find somebody else who will support you, so that you don't have to rely on them if they're not going to be there for you.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that is too. It's like the cultural thing too, and even going into other people's cultures, because I've traveled and I politely, and I would always bring things. I would always bring something to share. Maybe if I knew I didn't eat a certain type of food that was going to be made. But there's still that people take it personally sometimes, because they think their food, what they cook, is a reflection of themselves. So if you don't like it, they think that you're saying something about them, But you're right. I mean, I get what you're saying too, because I know, when you have a certain energy about a certain situation, you go into that situation, you're projecting it, and it would probably come back on you if you really initially have negative thoughts about that.
Right.
I get what you're saying too. Yeah. So you have a son, and
I do.
How do you teach him to be healthy? Does he cook? How old is he, if you mind me asking? Does he cook?
So he's 7.5.
Okay.
And he can actually scramble some eggs and make toast. Like he is months away from being able to fix an entire breakfast by himself, which is so important. Oh my gosh, start your kids young in the kitchen. Almost every kid I've ever met is naturally inclined to want to help in the kitchen. They're curious about cooking. Is magic. It's chemistry and magic. Things transform. It's cool. If you give them half a chance to participate, let the the worries about making a mess slide, because they're going to make a mess. It's just going to happen. So way more important to let them try and be successful cooking something than making it be clean. Yes, so he does cook a little bit. He does pitch in. And as he gets older, he gets more and more responsibilities. He's now using a paring knife to help cut up cucumbers. Oh my God, kids love knives. They so want to cut things.
Right, true.
They love to push the button on the blender. Now I brainwashed him real good. He was vegan up until he was about 5, because that's when I started changing my diet again. And he was very confused. He was like, "Wait, what? You're now eating that? I don't eat that. I'm vegan." And, 5 is a young age to have these conversations, but kids are smart. You got to give them credit. When you start talking with them, my body really, it needs to feel good, and in order to feel good, I have to eat certain things that are going to help it, and really try to explain the basics of what nutrition is. And I said, how we used to eat was really good for me for a long time, and now it's not. And I need to eat different things. We still eat a ton of vegetables. We still have our smoothies with protein and greens for breakfast. And now we're going to have fish for dinner. And, it's so interesting. Like, he was so confused for a few months, and then he started tasting things. And he's like, oh my gosh, this is delicious. He was so excited. He loved this flavor. And I said, look, I think you can still love animals and need to eat them. It doesn't make you a bad person. I think that's still okay. And you may decide that you don't want to eat meat again later at some point, and that's okay too. I just want you to be as healthy as you can be, and maybe you need to have some animal protein too. So, he and I are flexitarians, and it's interesting, for a health coach to teach their kid how to listen to their body. I've caught him a couple of times saying, Mommy, I'm listening to my body, and it tells me I really need a Cliff Bar right now. Yeah, no, that's not happening.
Smart kid.
That's cute, though. Yeah, good, nice try.
Yeah.
I
know. You figured out the game already.
Exactly.
But those are really good skills that you're teaching him, not only to listen to his body, but also to cook. Because I think that, I'm realizing as an adult, I'm glad my parents taught me how to cook, but a lot of my adult friends around me don't know how to cook. And I think it's so debilitating. And some of them think it's cute and that they don't have they don't really have a problem with that, but I think it's hugely important to understand, how to make food, where it comes from, and, it's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's self-sufficiency still. Yeah. I think it's also, you've probably experienced this too, Alex, it's like you bring the love into it. You feel pride when you have prepared a healthy meal for your family that they're going to enjoy, and then also when they're involved with you, they feel that too, and it sort of gives you a chance to bond over things like that. So I agree. My kids also get involved in cooking with me, and even my son who's 9, but he's severely autistic. But even I can get him to do simple things like you mentioned. He can push the button. He can he can stir, and he likes it. He gets excited. He sits there and hovers and watches and waits because he knows something yummy is going to come out. If we're making ice cream, I use coconut oil and or coconut milk and frozen fruit and a little bit of honey, and they know it's going to be great and it's exciting, and it's so. It's simple and things like that. It's really fun, but you can turn the table on that emotional tie-in that you have with a kid, but then make it the memory a healthy one. Is what I'm trying to say, and that's and it's really nice kind of thing. And I think one thing you're also bringing up is because you went from being a vegan to eating meat, and I'm sure you guys probably practice that. Responsibly and have the grass fed and everything good as opposed to just the factory farm stuff, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is that there's not just one healthy diet. I mean, obviously everybody's different and we all have a unique genetic makeup, so it would be kind of weird to think that there would be only one way to eat healthy. So there's many ways to eat healthy. You can have healthy fats, you can have healthy, meats, you can have healthy fruits and vegetables, and then there can be unhealthy ones, which, of course, like with if they're riddled with pesticides, we know that that's probably not too good for you. So, so I just wanted to ask you about that a little bit because you wrote a book about detox, but there's a million ways to do it. What are some of your favorite ways? What are some of your ways that you recommend most frequently, you think are most effective?
So I'm such a huge fan of cleanses and detoxes. I do them myself on a regular basis because I'm constantly in the flow of, what is life asking of me now? I have periods where I'm super creative and I'm, writing a book, or I have periods where I'm out teaching in classes in person, or I'm traveling a lot, or I'm just with my kid. So that requires different energy for me. And I find that knowing myself and having an awareness about what it is that I need is super important, because nobody can tell you what food you need right now to feel the way that you need to feel. Nobody knows except you. And that's where doing detoxes and cleanses, where you remove certain foods, whether it's the toxic 6 that I mentioned before, or whether you decide to go on like a paleo-style diet or a vegan raw diet for a while. You know, it's all good. Whatever you decide is totally fine. Whichever way you do it is good. You will learn something about your body and how it operates. You know, it's like you have to write your own operator's manual for your body. And the way to do that is to learn how it works when you input certain fuel. God, I've never described it in that way, but that's really good.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, it is true.
That is good, yeah.
We're complex. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So I love these. I love a good cleanse where you're emotionally supported and given a plan. Because again, we have limited willpower. Our brains can only do so much in a day. And if you're working and taking care of family or just working and commuting, that's enough. And trying to figure out what you're going to do for your food is, whoa, it can get super stressful. And then it feels overwhelming, and then you don't stick with it. So I highly recommend doing somebody's plan. If you want to do mine, you can go to my website. And you give yourself the space to plan what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to stick with it, and I'm going to track how I feel. You know, it doesn't sound very sexy, but I got to tell you, this awareness practice it's mind-blowing when you really get this, when you really learn what your habits are. Because when you start to say, you know, I'm not going to have coffee in the morning, I'm going to have my green and lean protein smoothie, you'll see your habits come up and be like, oh, wait, I'm not supposed to, all right, okay, coffee is totally a habit. And then you start to see how you can transform them. I'm not about breaking habits at all. Habits are really best transformed. You know, learning how the habit cycle works, it's a whole part of my cleanses, so that you're not reworking your entire life from scratch. You're focusing on one thing at a time, giving yourself space, so that by the end of a few weeks, you're like, wow, this is good. I feel like I wake up in the morning and I feel awake. And wow, I'm sleeping better. And oh my gosh, it's 5 o'clock and I'm not a total monster. Like I feel pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what are your thoughts on, or if you have any personal experience with sort of the mainstream allopathic medical community? Do you think that they're obviously very behind when it comes to nutrition, but do you think they're off when it comes to diagnosing diseases?
I think that, yes. Unfortunately, I think they are totally behind in terms of nutrition, and you can't really blame the doctors themselves because they come out of medical school and they've been given a couple of hours of nutrition education.
Exactly.
So, you know, I love the whole shift towards functional medicine, which is really doctors taking it upon themselves to learn the causes of disease, not just the prescriptions and the surgical methods for fixing things. Now, I love doctors. I am not haranguing doctors. Oh my gosh, the surgeon who fixed my knee twice, totally in love with him. Great guy. I can still snowboard. Life is good. However, they are trained. There's been a couple of studies that have come out showing that med students who go into medical school have a much more open view of that, alternative medication and nutrition are a good route towards healing. When they come out of medical school, that openness has been shut down. They no longer believe that diet and exercise play as big a part in the disease process. They get that trained out of them. So it's very unusual to meet a new doctor that's open to teaching their patients how to eat and how to live. And actually, this is, when I talk about the habit stuff and the willpower stuff, how to build a healthy life, no one is teaching that. No one is teaching that. Not even health coaches. They say eat this and not that. Eat this and not that. But they don't teach you how to transform your habits. And that's why I started integrating it into my programs. You know, the cravings cleanse, we go through this whole habit transformation sequence, because if you don't know how your habits are running you, then, you know, great, you do a 3-week cleanse with me, and then you may likely go right back into your old habits again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that you're unique in that way, because you make it very holistic, you know, body, mind, and spirit. And not everybody is talking about those kinds of things. So, and you know, with that said, we are just about out of time here, so I want to go ahead and wrap up the show. But before you go, please remind our audience about your services and how they can get in contact with you and read about what you're doing and all of that good stuff.
Great. So, you know, we've been talking a bunch about cravings, and yes, I would love to offer your listeners a super fun quiz they can take. It's called the Cravings Quiz, and you answer like 25 questions, and you get your cravings type. Now, this is based on Ayurvedic medicine and the traditional doshas or body types from India. This is 5,000-year-old medicine. Well, I've kind of rebranded that ancient medicine into a modernized version of the cravings types. You know, what type are you? What does your body naturally become inclined towards? What does it naturally crave? And what kinds of foods and exercises can you do to balance it? What's your type? So you can go to cravingsquiz.com and take that quiz, get a full-on report about your type and what to eat. It's really, really fun. And then you'll be on my newsletter. You'll get my report. You'll be on my newsletter. And, yeah, go to cravingsquiz.com. It's super fun.
That's really cool. Yeah, I'm going to do that myself.
I'm going to do that, yeah. we're on it.
Don't do it.
Cravings Quiz. Okay.
cravingsquiz.com. Okay, perfect. And so thank you so much for being on a show today. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And so everybody, please stay tuned. We're going to take a short break, and when we get back, Virstyne and I are going to close out the show. But we really thank Alexandra Jamison, or Alex, for being on our show today. And go check out her website. And if you're interested in a health coach, she sounds like she's a really good one. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, thanks for having me on your radio. Even though we're not from a famous rock and roll band, if we were, even though we sound a little like we are, we definitely wear a Conspiracy Realist t-shirt, because they're gear, aren't they? Oh yeah, they're really gear. I want to write a song about them. Conspiracy Realist t-shirts at truthertees.com. I gotta think of the middle 8. Shop.truthertees.com. What does that mean? It's the internet. What's that? I don't know. It's a net. It's between things. Shop.truthertees.com. What's that? It's where you get Conspiracy Realist t-shirts. Oh, gear.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for listening to Truther Talk. We just interviewed Alexandra Jamison. You can find her at alexandrajamison.com, and she's a nutritionist and a personal health coach and all of those kinds of things, and very interesting lady and author and all of that. So we enjoyed our conversation with her. Didn't we, Virstyne?
Yeah, really great. Yeah, and she was nice. We met her actually at the Health Freedom Expo. But she's a very nice lady, very smart.
Yeah, I very nice and very smart and very good energy. And I think that's why we wanted to have her on the show, because we met her at the Health Freedom Expo, and we liked her and thought, let's try and get her on, and we did. So, because I'd seen the film a long time ago, the Super Size Me, and I remembered her from the movie, and but I didn't realize that she was sort of doing the circuit of conferences and lectures on health. I knew she wrote a book about it because she did put Morgan Spurlock, her ex-husband, on the detox diet that actually ended up resetting his immune system and getting his health back after he got so unhealthy going on McDonald's for 30 days. And I knew she'd written a book about that, but I guess I didn't realize that she'd written several books, you know. She's written many, and she does blogging, and that's what she does, you know. She teaches people about health and how to restore their health once they've been unhealthy and they detox, or, you know, tries to help them find, like, she looks at different aspects of it too. I think that's where she's kind of unique, is that she doesn't look at just what you're eating, but also like how you're living. Like how much time do you spend on the computer? Are you going outside enough? What are you watching on TV?
Yeah.
You know, those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's great.
How are these things affecting your emotional health? You know, going through personal trauma and things like that. And when she described her own bouts with health problems, you know, she'd had a couple. She had the first one that got her on the track of being a vegan, and then she had another as she was going through a divorce with her husband, and she was starting to go through early menopause, and that's what got her off of the vegan diet and started eating meat again, because her body was actually asking for it. So she was at that point healthy enough that she was able to listen to her cravings and not, you know, she wasn't craving like Big Macs or anything like that. She was craving, you know, healthy amount of meat. You know, she just needed it. Her body needed it. She knew what she needed. And it restored her health. So. Yeah,
you know, like when we interviewed Craig Merriweather, I was really happy to hear him bring up those aspects too, of like he was talking about, he wrote Depression 180 and talking about how he cured himself of depression naturally. And you know, one of the things he talks about too is like your life, not just eating, not what you put in your body, but who you surround yourself with, and you know what what you're watching on TV too and stuff. Because I really think your state of mind has to do with your health. And people are just starting to talk about it, you know, but it's I don't think enough do yet.
Right. I think exactly, because it's kind of just like energy, and it's the food and what kind of energy are you taking into yourself, and that's not just what kind of food you're eating, although food has its energy as well, but also just, you know, like you said, like what are you watching on TV? Who are the people that you're surrounding yourself with? Are they negative? You know, or are they actually keeping you in a state of depression or keeping you in a state of sick because of the way that they treat you, or, you know, the way that they outlook on life so that it brings you down? You know?
Yeah, it's true, and that can have a huge, you know, even if it's your family, you know, and that's hard for some people.
Right.
Especially if you're a kid, you know. Like, you know, your family is, I mean, everybody, I think damn near everybody has a dysfunctional family in some regard. But, I mean, I think about it too, you know, like how, I remember, I mean, at the time, my parents, I had really good parents, but my parents were very strict. And I just remember, just like, I can't wait to become an adult. I couldn't wait. You know?
Right.
Did you ever have those feelings? Did you
want to? Of course, yes.
Yeah.
No, hell no. I wanted to get out like as quickly as possible. Are you kidding? You know, and it's not that I hated my parents really. I just didn't. I just didn't want them to have to tell me what to do. You know, I just had that like, gosh, I just want to be able to just be free and not have to have anybody control me or tell me anything. And then I think, you know, we all experience that when we're kids, and then when we go out into the real world, we're like, God, it was really nice to have someone just tell me what to do. I didn't have to think about all this stuff, and someone was making me dinner and doing all these things, and that was really nice.
Oh, yeah, but I'm still glad. I'm like,
well, I mean,
it's a responsibility too that you have for. It's like the responsibility that kills it, you know, and you know. Every
now and again, I think it sucks being a grown up. You know, it's like I wish just so nice being a kid. Isn't it fun?
Yeah.
You know, you just get to roll around and on your bikes and all this stuff, and it's so great. I mean, not that my childhood was glossy like that, but, you know, it just the lack of responsibility.
No, but it's funny because the kids think that their only, like, trouble in life is homework. You know, they're major priorities, so they're always yelling at me, you didn't finish homework! I'm like, I don't even think I do. I'm like, you don't even know the homework I had to do. Like, it would take me like 4 hours to do my homework. Wait, I get home at 3. I can play, 3 to 4 hours every night. It was terrible.
Oh, I never did homework. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding.
I wish, you know what's funny too? I kind of, I wouldn't say envy, but I'm just amazed at the kids who you can already know that they know that this is bullshit, like the educational system. And I was like, I look at them, I was like, damn, how do they know this shit? Like, I wish I knew this shit when I was 10.
I don't know
like
that.
a long time ago.
Oh, I know. I fucking did not do any homework. I want to say, you know, early on, I kind of wanted to be a good student, and I was naturally, you know, pretty good at school. And I was around 3rd grade when I was being harassed by my teacher. I wouldn't say she was, maybe harassed isn't a good word.
I know the story. She was fucking harassing you. That's okay. I'll say it.
She was abusing me because she was using me as her assistant, basically. And I'm like 8 years old, and so I had to do all her work during the classroom day. I had to grade all the papers. I had to tutor the other students because I was just the best in the class in English. And so she used me that way because she just thought, well, you're smart, I'm going to use you this way, and you're going to be my assistant. And she's really bitch and mean, and then, but just, like, had me as her slave all day long. And then at night, I had to do all my classwork and my homework. And so the next year was 4th grade. I said, fuck this. I just stopped doing homework. I stopped caring. I realized that I could just let it go, and it would be okay. And I can't remember doing homework after that. I'm not kidding. Like, maybe if I had a serious report or something, my entire grade was contingent upon it, but I would half-ass that thing, like, so hardcore. I mean, I wouldn't even read the book that I was supposed to be writing about, and I didn't even care.
I know, like, it's really about really good bullshitting. That's how you get through school.
Oh, yeah.
I'm bad. I figured this out in college. Mm-hmm. Where I swear I had these 2 theater history teachers, and one theater history teacher I liked, and I was like busting my ass, and I would never get like more than a B, and I was just like, God, you know, because I was such a geek. I had C's and stuff too, but most of the part I was a geek anyway, or nerd, I should say nerd. Anyway, so I had this other theater teacher, and I didn't even like him, and I remembered I just bullshitted in class. You know, and I end up getting an A. And I was like, what? Like, I tried harder when I would get lower grades and that. Look, I don't. So I was like, damn. I was like, don't.
Right, it was true, and I realized that I could skate by with my bullshit. You know, I could get C's or B's, and who cares, you know? I mean, and my parents weren't that strict about it. I mean, they would have been stoked, but I mean, I could bust my ass and get an A, or I could just give a fuck and not do any homework and get a B or a C. So I was like, not caring is way better, because then you
have more
time. Go home and instead of going home and busting my ass and doing homework, I'm watching cartoons, I'm hanging out, I'm doing, you know, whatever it is I want to do, and so, yeah, it's just unfortunate because learning actually is fun. And it's just the way that it's presented in school in a lot of cases that it's not. And it's made to be so boring, and kids are tortured by their teachers in some cases, like I was. You know, and it's not outright abuse. They're not still paddling them or anything for the most part. But
some of it is psychological abuse. I mean, I have a lot of teachers that don't want to be teachers, or that are stressed out. They're put in these really stressful situations, and they don't mean to lash. Maybe they don't even mean to lash out on the students. Or you have teachers that are racist and, you know, like traumatize you that way, or sexist, or whatever. You know. So I mean, because people are people. This, as we always talk about on the show. You know, there are going to be good and bad people in any profession, but
yeah, I saw this thing. I forget where I don't. You guys can look it up and check my source because I don't actually remember where I saw this, but I read this a long time ago, and maybe I was in college, maybe it was in my psych class. The teacher had said that when boys go through early puberty, and their voice starts to change, and they start to become more manly, they get more attention from their teachers than the other students. And when girls, on the other hand, go through early puberty, they actually get harassed more, and they get bullied more. I was like, whoa, that's interesting. And even by the teachers. And I was like, wow. And so I don't know if that's true. Like I said, this was a long time ago, and I don't remember her source for that, but that was something that one of my teachers had said in college, and I thought, that's kind of interesting. I don't know. So it just goes to show, like, how people are people, and in a way, you know, even something like appearance might cause a teacher to be either nice, friendly, or not to the student.
Oh, yeah. Well, going back to talking about the prejudice that we have in society and the privilege that we give people based on their looks. I knew this kid, he was just such a jerk. He was just always hitting people and biting them and stuff. And I had this one teacher, but he looked like a chocolate, beautiful, like, doll. He was just so adorable looking. He had these big, like, ebony eyes, and just his hair was perfectly curly. And he was just so, like, you just wanted to, like, pick him up and squeeze him because he was so cute. But there was a teacher, and she even, you know, admitted to me. I didn't ask her. We were just talking. She was just like, you know, like, I always want to get him in trouble, you know, more than I usually should, but he's just so cute. I can't do it, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, he's a jerk. So, you know. And then there are kids that, like, bat their eyes and they do the puppy doll things, and they know that they can get away with it. And the kids pick up. And even they see who gets treated better. So they know how to figure out, too. They're like, oh, you're doing it because they're a boy. You're treating them this way because they're a girl. Or, oh, you're treating them this way. Like, they will figure it out. They have a mind, like, better than a computer. They'll scan and they'll figure it out. They'll get it. They'll either be like, oh, it's because I'm fat, or oh, it's because I'm not attractive she doesn't think I'm as attractive, or he doesn't think I'm as attractive as this person. You know, and they'll see also who gets more attention based on their look. They'll notice who calls their friend pretty but doesn't call them pretty. You know? Yeah.
Yep, and I think that too, even just how we talk to our kids, like I saw somewhere recently where they were saying, make sure, you know, don't just tell them that they're pretty all the time. Don't just say, you know, attractive, point out other things about them, because you don't want them to just see that and see their only value in that.
Yeah, you know? Oh, definitely. And that can be dangerous. It can be privileged, but it can also be dangerous, because then they put more thought into their appearance, and, you know, A, that's not going to sustain them. B, if they get into an accident and they don't have anything else, you know, then, you know, it's terrible. So, I mean, they're not going to, anyway, it doesn't, there's no value in that. I mean.
Right, and then you wonder, too, like these people, I think we had, on a previous show, we talked about that girl who wanted to marry a rich guy, and she, like, wrote, oh, I'm pretty, and I'm going to marry a rich guy. And then the guy responded, he's like, but you don't have any other things to offer. Like, you're just basically offering your beauty in exchange for wealth, but, you know, as a businessman, you're a poor investment, because you're going to depreciate, but my wealth might continue to grow. And so
that's awesome. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and that was an awesome way to put it, because it was just very, like, business, you know, as a businessman, this is how it would work, and or this is how I would see it. But that starts young.
Yeah.
That starts, like, when the kids are little, they, you know, they're, oh, you're so pretty, and then they just grow, and they don't recognize themselves to have any other value, you know? It's like, it's almost valuable to go through that awkward phase where you're kind of ugly.
Yeah, I mean.
You know, and then you go through a little bit of it, and you don't, or at least you feel that way. Maybe you aren't, but you kind of go through that, and it's you find other ways to be attractive to people, because, you know, you don't have that physically there, but it's you know, like you said, like you've talked about on the show, that you had an awkward phase. So did I, and I, you know, I hated it at the time.
Oh yeah, I thought my life was over. Like, you're a teenager, like, my life is over. Yeah. Nobody likes me, you know, So.
Right. And, right, because you do put so much of your value in that, you know, and I remember reading the Bridget Jones Diary a long time ago. Have you ever read that book or seen that movie?
Good.
It's funny. It's pretty funny. It's, yeah, I'd say it's pretty good. It's comical. And she would, in her diary every day, she'd write down how much, you know, her weight. It was like, you know, today it's, you know, April 13th, my weight is 140 pounds, you know, blah, blah, like that. And she just would start that way, and it was so funny how much she tied in her her well-being and her life into, you know, God, if I could just lose 5 pounds, my life would just work out. It would just sort of be everything would be better if I could just get like that little bit, tiny bit. And, you know, or it could be the other way around. It could be that if you get your life together, the weight's going to come off naturally. You know, so, but that's the way people think, because they think it's all tied into that side of it, tied into the appearance side of it, and not into like your eternal health or your well-being as even emotionally. You know, you can hold on to weight or not gain weight depending on whatever it is that you need, because you're holding on to grudges, or you're holding on to emotional, or you're depleted emotionally. You don't, and that's one thing that Alexandra Jamison was talking about was you can be depleted in many ways, not just your nutrients. You might need, you know, sex, you might need exercise, you might need love, you might need affection, attention, you know, these other things, or sleep. You know, you could be deprived in these other ways. You might be deprived of being outside and outdoors in nature, and so you need to take a walk every day and see if that doesn't actually sort of start to fill you up. And so she's unique in that she looks at all those different things that could be depleting you, and those things could be actually preventing you from, you know, getting to your area of optimal health, both physically and mentally. So
yeah, fascinating. It's so great, all the women, all the women we meet during this show. Really powerful women, really smart women. It's really empowering to be around that. You learn so much, you know.
It is, and I think, you know, what we've learned going down this rabbit hole, and we've talked about, you know, how the feminist movement has been used to kind of divide us, but then when you start to reach out to some of these women who really are empowered in their own way, and to not, you know, sort of falling for that, you know, they've realized that the real empowerment is taking charge of your health, taking charge of your, you know, your body and your life as far as, you know, as a woman, and not taking away your body parts, like, you know, taking away your womanly body parts because there's a chance you could get cancer. I mean, it's, yeah, you know, we don't, right, exactly. So, but I mean, really, to empower yourself, these really smart women who have written books about their health and try to help in, you know, they're not out there screaming about, you know, oh, we need birth control, or oh, we need to, you know, we want to be CEOs, and we want to, I don't know, whatever it is that they're screaming about, but they're just saying, they're just doing it. I think that's what most of these people that we have on our show that we find inspiring. It's like they don't
ask for anybody's permission. They just do what they want to do.
Exactly. They're just in there doing what they want to do. They're not asking for permission. They're being whatever it is that they want. They're just making it up themselves, you know, making up the job that they want because maybe it didn't exist before, and so they just did it, you know. And so I think we admire that, and it's Alexandra, she's found her niche. She's found what she's looking for, and she's not afraid to be on that journey and then to make changes, like she said when she decided to go off of being a vegan, and she had a lot of flack for it. A lot of the militant Nazi vegans were coming after her and angry with her, but because she opened up about it and said, you know, I was going through a lot of stress, I was depleted, and she was going through actually early menopause, in her very early menopause. I think she was in her early 30s, she said at the time, 33 or something like that. And that's very early. That's very young to be going through menopause, losing hair and things like that, and having hot flashes and just her basically having overall bad health. And she recognized that her body had needed a sustenance that wasn't available to her, because she was, you know, she was under a lot of stress as well. And but yeah, I mean, but then the vegan community kind of went nuts on her and lost it on her. But I think she's managed to maintain her business as a health coach because she's still healthy. She's just in a different way now. She's just had to adjust it to meet her new needs. She said the vegan Nazis, But it's true. What would you call them? I mean, they're like...
No, you're right. No, I was laughing because it's perfect. Because, I would call them vegan Nazis.
Right.
People get Nazi, get like Nazis, get fanatical about certain things. Yeah, I've experienced those people. They're black Nazis. They're, all kinds of Nazis. They're Nazis. You're Nazi. You're a Nazi.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, do you think they just kind of get sort of caught up, like you said, they just get caught up in something?
I think they're people that really care about the lives and rights of animals, and they really believe it's murder. And I do to a certain extent, because I also think if it comes down to a human and you're in a place and you need to kill a bird to survive, I probably would kill a bird and eat it.
Right, absolutely.
Unwillingly, but and animals do it to each other all the time. And I think that there are people that they're hiding something too about themselves that they're insecure about when they're that judgmental. But I think that goes through different through different avenues. I mean, I've known people that have molested children, but they were Bible thumpers,
Right.
They were child molesters, so I think that he was really fanatical and always going around and judging people. And verse John 2:14 says, Corinthians says you should, he knew the Bible front and back. He can pull a quote out of his ass and throw it at you like a baseball.
Right.
By he was a child molester.
Exactly.
I've known people like that, or they would, they were thieves and they were Bible thumpers, but that also just translates into to religion or any philosophy. I mean, it's funny because I've heard people that are atheists say, some of my atheist friends, I've heard them say that they, they're like, oh, well, I'm an atheist because religion commits so much, crime and murder and, unhappiness in the world and war. And I'm like, well, those are called extremists. It's not because of their religion. And then I've noticed, too, I've run across some atheists that are just as extreme as any Christian or Muslim that they would accuse of doing the same thing. Right. And then a lot of times you find out stuff about people that are that judgmental and that extreme. It's because they probably don't even really believe what they claim they believe in. They're just, they needed something to hide behind.
Right.
Yeah,
definitely. And right. I agree. So it's interesting. I'd heard recently. Not recently. This was a while ago. Actually, I take that back. Alex Jones, and he was talking about the video of the guy, the Afghani soldier, who picked up and threw the puppy. Do you remember when that happened?
No.
I think it was a WikiLeaks, and I think the WikiLeaks guy found the leaks of the videos of what was going on in the Afghani war, and he picked up a puppy and he threw it, and everybody was outraged. And he brought up the point, he said, the reason that people get outraged when they see cruelty to animals is because people haven't been desensitized when it comes to the killing and slaughtering of animals, but they've been kind of desensitized when it comes to human beings, And I know, a lot of people hate him, and, people in the chat room, oh, don't bring up Alex Jones, whatever, but I'm just bringing up the point that he made.
We're bringing up now. What are you going to do? Oh, no.
Bring it up now. Oh, no, it's too late.
Cover your ears. You're going to say the AJ word,
We just said it. But anyway, so AJ, he said that I thought that was a really good point. And I hadn't thought of that before, because when you bring that up, these people, then they get so militant about it, but then they don't seem to really, a lot of times it's a hypocrisy, because as we talked about in the intro, you had those friends who were vegans, but then they were really pro-vaccine, or people who are vegans, but then they're really, because they don't want to kill animals, but then they don't say anything about Obama's atrocities and his wars and things like that. So that kind of hypocrisy.
There's that post that was going around that had Robert Downey Jr. rolling his eyes, and it's the look that you give when when people say they're against war, but they support Obama.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So they can, they can suspend their belief system for the sake of being on the winning team. I guess that's what that's all about. It's just wanting to be like, oh, I want to be on the winning team. We're going to be the winners. We're going to prove that veganism is the healthiest way to go. But
what about people that live in Alaska or Antarctica? Really?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you
can't grow anything. What are they,
Exactly. So we can tell an Eskimo. They're going to be like, what?
Oh, but there's just people that take that shit to the extreme. Like, they'll make their pets vegetarian. Like, that's ridiculous.
Right.
That's too much.
Yeah. Because animals, those cats and dogs are not meant to be vegans. They don't have the digestive system for it, and they don't have the, and they have the claws and the teeth and stuff that show that they are predators, naturally. So it's weird to make them vegetarian. Sorry, that's weird.
Yeah. It is. I think I read something too about a guy that he had a pet lion. I thought he had a pet lion. I could just stop right there. But anyway,
right.
It's Simba, whatever. So, but then he made his lion a vegetarian, and then the lion's teeth started to fall out.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's weird. That's crazy sauce, as you would say.
Right.
That's crazy sauce.
That is crazy sauce, because that's, like you said, that's very weird. Like, how would you, I don't know, people are, they're enforcing their views on, it's not even, it's not even right for them as their species, but they're enforcing it on their religious belief on other people and other animals in some cases. But it's interesting though, just going back to that, how the hypocrisy and how that comes around. And some people do have a genuine, sincere belief that they don't want to hurt any other living things, and fine, okay, but it's over the top to sit there and give Alexandra Jamison a hard time because she decided that she was going to change her lifestyle to suit her health needs. I mean, what was she supposed to just go through early menopause and get sick and die? I mean, come on,
Yeah.
It's like give it a rest, Don't let your dog eat meat. Let your cat have give your cat a little fish, give him a little tuna. They love it. So it's just funny. I was a vegetarian for a lot of years too, by the way, just to let everybody know that. I did.
But you're not anymore. You're gonna get vegan hate mail.
I don't care.
Watch out for the vegan love letters. They're coming your way.
I know. It was many years ago, and I didn't. I gave it up. But yeah. But I did it for 10 years. I did, and I wasn't particularly healthy about it, nor was my health in. I mean, I was young, so I had that on my side. I was in my 20s, so I was probably just, I don't know. But I was tired all the time. I used to get sick a lot. I had pneumonia one time. I mean, I did a lot of things. I think I'm healthier now, but that's just me. So, to each their own. I'm not trying to judge people, so do what you got to do. As long as you're leaving healthy, and I would say if you're eating meat, you definitely
just eat clean. Just eat clean, man, because
the organic, grass-fed, and all of that.
Yeah, the stuff that they do to the animals too, which is terrible too. How they enslave them and put them in fear and inject hormones. And that's terrible. It's terrible.
You're taking all that stuff into your body.
Yeah, and even I would say even the energy. There's some people that might disagree with, but which I'm aware of. But I would even say,
I think that's true. You want the energy as well as also, anything that the animal's been fed throughout their lives. So you got to have if you're worried about GMOs or non-organic pesticides and things like that, that's what they're feeding those animals too. And it's just gross. I don't even want to get into all the things that they do to those because we just don't have enough time, and that's a whole nother Truth to Talk. We could probably do a Truth to Talk episode on factory farming and all of that. Let people know, but it's not. If you have grass-fed and you're not just eating meat, you're also eating vegetables and other things, and you're balancing your diet. then it's square, you know? You're going to be all right.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so thanks to our guests. We're out of time. So I'm going to close it out with a thank you to our guest, Alexandra Jamison. You can find her at alexandrajamison.com. And until next time, y'all, peace, truth, and love.
Peace, truth, love you guys. Bye.